Welcome to Chromatic Counsel podcast, the podcast where law, leadership, and color collide. I am your host, Carrie Heaps, and I have a great show lined up for you today. A few quick announcements. If you are a Florida licensed attorney and you are looking for technology credits, check out the Digital Tells class. I have a link in the show notes below, and I teach everybody how to read body language on Zoom and other digital platforms. Also, too, the holidays are coming up, and as you well know, I do color analysis and color services for attorneys and other professionals. So if you are looking to have your colors done, if you're looking about how you can use color as a tool in the courtroom, I hope you will check that out. And again, those links are in the show notes below. And today I am joined by Renée Bauer. So today's guest, I want to welcome to the show. I've been excited about having her on. She is a trailblazing family law attorney, award-winning author, a powerhouse speaker, and the visionary behind Happy Even After Family Law. She's the author of multiple acclaimed books, including She Who Wins, and the host of the top 2% ranked podcast where she explores divorce, reinvention, and relationships with refreshing honesty. Renée is also the founder of Parent Copilot, the first AI-powered tool designed to support high conflict co-parenting. Renée, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Carrie. I just want to talk about colors. I'm
I,
like, never mind your questions for me. I have questions for you.
Oh, I know. Well, I love color, as you well know. Obviously, it's the name of the show, and yeah, and I'm definitely going to get to that. But I would love for you to share with the listening audience because you're the founder of Happy Even After Law, Family Law. And I know when I first saw that on your site, I was like, I read through it twice, and I'm like, I love that. So Happy Even After Family Law. Your practice focuses on the high asset clients and complex family law matters. So what inspired you to go this route and to specialize in that?
It was never the plan.
Mhm.
I was actually going to go to law school so I could go down to Washington, D.C. and work in politics. Like now that the climate that we're in, I'm like, oh my God, I would have been chewed up and like spit out if I went down that path. But when I was in law school, I did an externship and realized I liked working with people. So when I graduated, I went to a small law firm and they heavily were ingrained in criminal law and a lot of federal cases, but they did have a family law practice, which they never liked taking those cases, so they gave them all to the newbie. And that was me. And I realized I really liked this area of law. I thought there was such opportunity to work with people and really help them.
Mhm.
And so I never looked back. When I opened my own practice a long time ago, I knew I was going to really focus on just family issues. And the firm has evolved over the years. The name has evolved over the years, to the place where we really landed into the audience that we serve now, and the type of experience we create for customers or clients.
And you're based in Connecticut, but do you
Yes.
just handle clients in that area, or do you also handle ones from New York, the neighboring states?
So we are only in Connecticut. We do have a teammate who is a divorce coach who can do that anywhere. So we do offer those services and people will use them. So it doesn't matter where they are, but they're just looking for extra support. They find us and we say, well, we can't represent you, but we can help you with a little bit of case strategy and just helping them move forward. But our legal practice is based just in Connecticut.
Okay. Now, I know the bio on your website had mentioned that, and I like this, divorce is not an end, it's an opportunity for transformation.
Yes.
Can you share, and hopefully you can, like, can you share a past case or client story that illustrates how divorce became a
Yeah.
turning point rather than just a ending or conclusion?
I love this question because I know exactly which client this refers to. I had a woman who I worked with a number of years ago, and every step of the way, she did not want to get divorced. Her husband filed. They were not in a happy marriage. There were a lot of things broken about the marriage, but she was very comfortable and it was very certain. even though she wasn't really happy and it wasn't healthy. And up to the very end, when she signed that agreement, she looks at her husband and she says, "Are you sure you want to do this?" And he says, yes. They signed this agreement. And she was so scared. She wasn't working full time. She was scared about money. She was scared about taking care of the house that she was getting. And a year later, she reached out to me and said, "I have never been happier in my life. And I didn't even know how unhappy I was until I was forced into this position." And I just actually heard from her not too long ago. And she's dating now and she's traveling and she works full time and is financially stable on her own. And that's a story of it. Like, she did not want this divorce. She would have not chosen this path for herself. And it was the best thing that ever happened because she really just bloomed as to her own independence. And that's so often the story, is that the people who don't want the divorce and are forced into it are forced into looking at things from a different perspective and seeing this as an opportunity for growth, for happiness, which they didn't even realize they didn't have, or even joy.
Hmm. And thank you for sharing that story. And I love that because I feel like, and I've never been married, so I can't relate to people who've been divorced. I've been engaged twice and broke it off both times, going, I'm not going down this road. I don't think this is a good fit for me. But clearly, because I'm a big believer in energy, and I think when they resist it that much, and you're right, it's like it's almost like it's the universe saying, "Hey, you need to, we're going to make this so uncomfortable for you. You need to give this up.
Yeah.
And until you do, it's just going to get worse and worse and worse." And, especially I think if there's kids involved, like that's got to be even tougher because I think it's not just that one person
Yeah.
or both people that are suffering, but the kids suffer too, quite a bit.
And that's often why people hold on, because they think that they're going to do their kids a disservice if they separate.
Hmm.
And what I will often say to clients is, when they're on the edge of, like, the verge of, do I do it? Do I not do it? And I'll say, and I can always tell, like, I can always tell that question isn't because, do I think I can work it out with my spouse or not? They wouldn't be was sitting with me if that was the case. It was, should I do this to my kids? Am I going to be okay? And I say to them, would you want this relationship for your daughter or your son? And I have never had someone say yes. Every single time they passionately were no or hell no. And
Hmm.
then it's like, well, why is it okay for you? And guess what? You're mirroring this for your children. This is what they're going to see. And they may fall into that same pattern. So we think we're doing a service for our clients by staying, but sometimes we're doing a disservice if they're in a home where it's toxic, there's conflict, there's fighting. These kids see this, they absorb this, and it causes more damage. And the studies actually show that it's not the divorce that causes, like, all of the things that we see as potential fallout for divorce with children. It's the conflict. And that conflict could be through a divorce, or it could be in an intact home, but it's the conflict that's the predictor of how these children handle things, and it's not the divorce itself.
Hmm. And now you also, because of part of this, you created the app Parent Copilot. So that addresses co-parenting with high conflict exes, and I'm sure probably other people that had mutual divorces maybe still use it. But how did your legal practice lead you to develop this solution? Like what's the story behind that?
Yeah, so last year I had a client reach out to me. It was an old client, and he randomly reached out to say, "Hey, my ex sent me this email. Can you help me write a response?"
Mhm.
And so I spent a little bit of time going back and forth with him and helping him reply to an ex who was kind of trying to dig a little bit and create a little bit of conflict and chaos. And
Mhm.
I realized, I'm like, there has to be a better way than paying your lawyer to dictate how you should respond to this email. And
Mhm.
so from that, the idea of Parent Copilot came to be. So what if I could give parties a tool to help communicate? And sometimes, Carrie, with like high conflict cases, there'll be a parent coordinator where they're actually paying a third person to facilitate communication between the two of them. I mean, think about that, like an hourly rate of hundreds of dollars per hour just for the two of them to have conversations. I'm like, there has to be a better way for this. And so that was the whole point of Parent Co-Pilot. Both parties can actually go onto the app where their accounts are linked, and it can help facilitate the communication between the two of them so they don't need to pay the professional. And then hopefully the goal is that through that assistance, they're able to do it on their own, and they're not going to need anyone, and they can just go back to texting normally, and they're kind of been trained on how to communicate with each other.
Mhm. And so even with that, like with the Parent Co-Pilot, so if people want to use that, let's say somebody's listening to the interview, that's because we do have people who listen that are not attorneys and they find my channel for other reasons. But if they're like, wow, I'd love to use that, is it open to anybody or is it
Oh,
just your
yeah.
clients?
No, it's on, you can get it anywhere where you download an app, Apple, Google, and it's free. So you can go and just download it and start using it.
Okay, good, great. Now you've written a couple of different books. So how is the writing, like just writing in general, has that influenced your law practice and like even your personal branding or branding of the firm?
I love this question. So I have been a writer before I have been anything else. Before I went to law school, before that, it was the thing that I did as a kid, and I always knew that I wanted to be an author. And then, adulting happens, and you go and do the things, and what's going to pay the bills. But I always went back to writing, and I had just went through my own divorce, and someone in my state who publishes local legal publications reached out to me and said, "Hey, are you interested in writing a book called The Ultimate Guide to Solo and Small Firm Success?" And what was funny about that is I was only a year into operating my law firm. I'm like, I know nothing about how to run a business. Like, I'm just trying to figure this out. And I was like, yes, I will write this book. And that started the journey to at least start tapping away at the computer again. And then once that book came out, I was like, okay, it's time to write other things. And I wrote a fiction book that was got me the literary agent.
Mhm.
And we actually never sold that book, but what we did sell was the She Who Wins book, which is the personal development book. And that book was it was such a journey because it was so honest and vulnerable, and I tell stories in there that I've never talked about before, and things that I thought was all healed and fixed, and you go back to these things in childhood, and I'm like, oh wow, this came up for me. So it was really a journey into, hey, this is like the imperfect version of who I am, because we all have that. And so She Who Wins is about courage and bravery, and really helping people to get comfortable doing really uncomfortable things and not accepting anything but what they want in their life. So the writing has been so much part of me. I still write. I have another book that we're trying to get published. I have another one that's, where we have actually two books we're out to publishers. So
It
it's
can
just
be
part of what I
addictive,
do.
right? Yeah, the writing process, it's addictive. At least I
Yeah.
think it is too. Once
It's
you
it's
write
soul
one and you
work.
want to write more,
Yeah.
you're like, oh wow, I have this other idea. And that's what I tell
Yeah.
people too. I'm like, I'm a big advocate of promoting yourself, and whether that's through getting interviewed or writing a book or doing all of the above. But I'm like, everybody has a story in them.
Yeah.
Everybody does.
Yeah.
And the one time you put that on paper, it's going to be that one person that reads the book and goes, oh my gosh, wow, this really helped me. And that to me, I think makes it all worthwhile. Just having that
I
one person.
it's crazy because the book came out in 2023, and I just got a notification through Google that my name popped up, and a book club in Ohio picked this book as their book club book. And of course, I'm like all excited, so I reach out and I'm like, "Do you want me to show up?" So I'm showing up on Sunday to as part of their virtual book club for a Q&A. But it's like, even though it's out there and it's kind of like I've forgotten about, but those words last and it can still make an impact. And it's the best feeling in the world when someone reaches out or sends a message or takes a photo of them reading the book and like tags me in it. Like, I get so excited. It will never get old.
No, no, and I would agree with that. Now, with the other attorneys that are listening to the show that have been contemplating, writing a book, what advice would you give to them?
Just sit down and do it. Like, do it messy. Don't judge it. Like, you cannot, like, lawyers are perfectionists, right? Like, legal writing will suck the creative energy out of you. And it's really hard as a lawyer to sit down and write and not edit as we go. But if you're writing from a different perspective and you're taking your lawyer hat off and you're writing fiction or you're writing memoir, whatever it is, just get the words on the paper. It's really easy to edit after the fact. It's really hard to revise a blank page. And if we're constantly going back and like trying to make that one page or one paragraph perfect, we're never going to move forward. And so I'm a big fan. And when I write, I just like I dump all the words out there and then I go back and do the heavy lifting of trying to make them make sense and cutting and pasting and fixing and all of that. But at least I have something to work with. And I think that that's the thing that holds most people back who want to write is they think it has to be perfect the first round.
Mhm.
And it absolutely doesn't. The book that I just finished that we're trying to get published, which is a fiction book, I rewrote the book 4 times, like from start to finish. Like I thought I was done. And my agent came back and was like, something's not working. And it becomes so much easier to fix things when you have something to work with. So you just put it on paper and don't judge it.
Right. No, I think that's excellent advice. And speaking of that, if you could go back in time and speak to your younger attorney self, like at the start of your career, what is one piece of advice that you would give about building a meaningful practice? Because you're a solopreneur,
Yeah.
you built a successful practice, but staying aligned with your values and avoiding that burnout that all attorneys seem to be subjected to.
A great question. I think for the first, handful of years, it was just me, and I was afraid of hiring help. I was afraid of delegating. I was afraid of somebody not doing it quite the way I would. And the lesson is that no one will ever do it the way that you do it. The business is your baby, and if they can do it 60 or 75% of the way you're going to do it and you're not doing it, then it's better than you doing it. And so early on, document everything, your processes, your procedures, even if it's just you, document how you're doing things because the best way when you bring that first person on is to give them that folder of here's all the process and procedures. And so that no matter what, you're not relying so heavily on one person who's like holding all the secrets to the firm, and you have something that can transfer to one person. And as you grow, it is going to become essential to how your business operates. If you don't have process and procedures, things are just going to crumble because no one's going to know what they have to do. And so we're constantly updating those documents and those procedures and fixing. And we just hired a new employee this week, and bringing her on required us to then update how we've been doing things. So from day one, even if you're a business of one, treat it as if you have 20 employees.
Mhm. And I love that you shared that because I think, and what I've seen too, like with attorneys, I meet so many, obviously. And one thing I have found, because a lot of people are like, oh, attorneys, they're left brain and they're really analytical. And I'm like, well, actually, they are. But to me, they use both sides equally. Because I've seen quite a few, like yourself, you've written books, I've seen others that are, they play in bands, they're musicians,
Yeah.
and they're all doing like all of these great, interesting things. So I'm like, I always like go to bat with that. And I'm like, no, actually, that's not true. So, I mean, even for those that are like, maybe it's an associate right now that's tuning in and they're hearing you and they're like, gosh, I'd love to go on out on my own. I mean, to kind of piggyback on this question too, is like, because I do hear from people that say, I'd love to go out on my own, but I don't really like, they don't have a plan for it. They're not sure that they can do it. And then they also bring up about money. And I had a gentleman
Yeah.
on yesterday that I interviewed. He bootstrapped his entire,
Oh,
he
yeah.
said, Carrie, he said, I used the library as kind of like a
Oh, yeah.
satellite office. I would take calls and then when I got to a point where I was meeting clients, he got like a virtual office space and he just let it grow from there. And again, I think
Yeah.
it goes back to what you said before, is that you don't have to have that, mahogany paneled conference
Yeah.
room and the brick and mortar right away. You don't have to have that. So do you have any feedback or tips for those attorneys
Yeah.
that are worried about money?
Um, And that's like, it's so true, especially now that you can operate your practice out of your kitchen table. Like you can do that. And I felt like when I first started, that wasn't the way it was. Like you had to set up the office first in order to be in business. And I laugh when you say like the mahogany, conference room, but I rented an office space that was within another lawyer's office. And the first thing I did was I went down to the furniture store and got like some ornate executive desk. And I was so excited to have it delivered, and the damn thing would not fit through the front door. And so I had to
Oh.
send it back. And I worked off of a folding table for 3 months until I was like, all right, I need to figure this out.
Mhm.
Um, so it's like you doesn't need to be the executive desk. It can be the folding table, and you're still in business. So, um, yeah, so as part of like the money issue, what I did was my old boss, who I had a very good relationship with, he's like, listen, I'll continue to feed you work, and then I'll pay you a percentage of doing this work. And it might have been a small amount, but it was income coming in. And
Mhm.
so he would give me the work that he couldn't do or didn't have time for, and I would get a little bit from it, but I would do it. It kept me busy. It got me into the courtroom and got me doing some work. I signed up for all of like the state stuff, like the state appointments,
Mhm.
and did all of that. Again, not a ton of money, but it kept me busy and it
Mhm.
kept something coming in. Having conversations with people, like I think that it is so important to, and now more so than ever, where everything's so digital, is to have a coffee with somebody and be like, hey, how can I help you? Are you so busy that you need me to help you just like prep some pleadings or help you with trial prep just as a second, like if and you could get work that way. Or maybe it's someone not in that same area of practice, but somebody else where you're just forming that relationship as a referral partner. So
Mhm.
if you're sitting there twiddling your thumbs and the phone's not ringing, you're like, what can I do? Go out and meet somebody and have that coffee and do the outreach. I think that a firm's success is built on relationships. And I believe that so deeply. And I think it's that boots on the ground, having conversations with people, going to conferences. I just went to a business conference yesterday. And you don't have to have a booth there. You could just walk around
Mhm.
booth to booth to booth and say hello and leave cards and talk to people.
Mhm.
It's amazing how far that goes to churn up work and just have those relationships and the follow up with people.
Yeah, and I love, again, I hear it so much from attorneys, and you're right. They're saying that, like, go out and have coffee with people, go meet with them one on one. And I mean,
Yeah.
even like I've spoken at a lot of here in Florida, we have a mandatory bar, and then we have the voluntary bars as well. I'm not sure how your state is set up, but the voluntary bars have a lot of different events, lunch and learns and so forth. And
Mhm.
I always tell people, I'm like, go to those, even,
Yeah.
just to if you don't need the CLE, fine, but just go just for the networking and getting in
Yes.
front of people because you're right. It is, I think everybody's so saturated with social media,
Yep.
email,
Yep.
just like they're inundated with things. And I think the more people can see you, I mean, I've had attorneys tell me the same thing. Like you talk about events, you don't have to get a booth, but they're like, just come, buy a ticket and go and
Yeah.
attend. You don't have to be an attorney to come
Yeah.
and network. So I love that. What is one thing that oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. You were gonna.
Okay. You know what's really, really great about the conferences that are not lawyer events?
Mhm.
You don't get lawyers there. We were at this event yesterday and we had a booth and I spoke on a panel, but there were 1,000 people in attendance. There was not one other law firm there. We were the
Oh,
only people. And we had someone come up to us and say, oh, I saw you at this event a few months ago and now you're here. It's like that repetition. Lawyers don't take the time to do that. And if you're brand new, you have all the time in the world, and you either have time or you have money, and you have time in this situation. So go to those things because you're probably going to be the only lawyer there.
yeah. I love that. And I was just going to ask you, like, what has been your favorite part of being a solopreneur, a solo attorney? What's been like the one thing that you're like, oh my gosh, this is such a great benefit?
Um, it's like you're an entrepreneur and you never work so hard not to work 40 hours for somebody else. Like you work 80 hours, don't have to work 40 for somebody else. Like
Yeah.
for me, I love the visionary stuff. So I am a creative and I am definitely a visionary. And that's fun for me. I love thinking about how can we do things in a different way? How can we shake up what lawyers typically do in the legal industry and how we advertise and how we get clients, and do things differently. And that's so fun. And some of it works and some doesn't. But I try most of it because I'm like, well, what if it works? Like, what if this app is good? And what if we do a marketing campaign like this and it works? And it's just fun to like really get creative with it because lawyering is typically not that creative. So that I have control over that. And I'm the one who sits there with the ideas.
Mhm.
And then says like, how do we execute on that? So that has been my favorite part about being an entrepreneur.
Yeah. My favorite part has been like just kind of like you said with the hours, you are working more, but at least I feel more creative late at night. And if you're working a 9 to 5, that's not an option. You have to be spot on during that time frame, and that
Right.
never worked for me. So thank you for sharing that. And as you know, the show it's called Chromatic Counsel. So I can't let you go without asking you a color question. So do you have when, and I don't know how often you go to court, but when you do you have any favorite outfits or go-to colors when you're headed there? Like you're like, this is my power suit or this is my power color.
I I do. I love so I wear black or I love color. And so I have and I'm in like my pantsuit phase. So I have this bright pink pantsuit that I love wearing. And like so and what's funny about this is early on when I was a baby lawyer, like I felt like I had to dress a certain way and I had to be like all stuffy and like navy blazer and all like kind of like dressing like the men. And then as you get older, you're like, no, this is like who I am. So now I actually love wearing clothing that stands out. So I love like um the bright pink suit. I love I have a like a turquoise color suit as well that I really like I love wearing colors that sort of pop
Mhm.
and stand out. But then again, I'm in my room, my a new office. I just moved and I if you can see it all around me, it's like a maroon and pink and has all these like colors wallpaper. So I love color. Like I love the how it feels and I love like the I think color is huge in what kind of energy you put out there. Also, a really good way to get clients because you kind of dress to how you want to feel and the confidence. And
Mhm.
I'll often have people walk up to me in court and ask for a business card, and it's like, it's don't dim yourself, like shine,
Yeah.
don't be afraid of that.
I would agree. Never be afraid of the of colors. And I love, and you're the third, I think the third or fourth attorney I've had on the show that has talked about like a pink suit or like a darker pink, magenta or hot pink
Mhm.
that they're wearing. So I'm loving that because it's like I think there needs to be more color in the courtroom because again, sometimes you go there like even just to like for me to observe and again for CLEs and things like that to create my
Mhm.
outlines, but it's just it can be so drab sometimes. It's like
Yeah.
everybody, and I think every color it serves a purpose. But I was going to actually ask you about that. So that is wallpaper because I love that. I love the colors. It looks so pretty.
It's yeah, so I just moved, so we just had it done and I have this color in here. I have this like deep wine purpley color in a bathroom.
Oh,
I'm doing
wow.
a different color and so like my whole place when I moved in here is like saturated with color. Like and my other place was a little like kind of safe when I moved from and I lived there for a long time. And I'm like now I'm like this place needs to feel like me. And so it's been really fun to play with that color and
Yeah.
with colors you typically might not see in a house.
Yeah.
And patterns too, like stripes and a striped coffee table with like a pattern. You can't see behind me, but there's a chair behind me that's striped, which
I
is
think I
like
see a
such a,
little bit of it. Yeah.
I
Like
think
an
it's, let me
armchair
see.
almost.
Nope, is it there? You can see, no, you can't see it. Um,
Maybe on the
so
other
that,
side of you.
oh
Or
no, that's my
oh,
dog,
that's
great.
oh, okay.
It's over there. It's back there.
Gotcha.
But it's a stripe chair that it's like, it's kind of wacky to put like stripes with this wallpaper, and it's so fun and it works.
Yeah. Well, definitely. I love making your environment like to where you can thrive. And everybody's always going to be different, but I've always noticed that when people decorate like with color or with pattern, they're when they feel like, oh wow, this really feels like me and they're more productive. And then when people do come over, they probably remark and be like, oh wow, I love the way that this looks. This looks amazing. So yes, thank you for sharing that. Just in closing, Renee, is there anything you'd like to share with the listening audience that you have coming up? I know you talked about one of the books coming out, so if there's anything you'd like to share, I'd love to hear
Um,
about it.
just for anyone who's listening, whether you're going through a divorce, if you have clients who are thinking about it, we do have a free divorce workbook on our website. That's like 80 pages of just helping clients get ready, start to think about their goals, start to get organized.
Mhm.
Totally free that they can download. They can get the hard copy on Amazon too, but they can just get it for free, which the website is familylawyerct.com.
Okay. And we'll have those links in the show notes too for everyone. But Renee, I want to thank you so much for coming by and talking with us. I've loved this conversation and I just love what you're doing and just keep up the good fight for everyone.
Thanks for having me, Carrie.
Absolutely. And I want to thank everyone for tuning in today. And if you liked what Renee shared, I hope you will like the episode and hit the subscribe button so you know when we go live next. And also share this episode with another attorney that you think needs a little bit more color and advice in their life. That is a wrap for this episode of Chromatic Counsel. I hope you will tune in next time. And as always, I am wishing you continued success.